What is happening, everybody? Josh here from Spawn Fly Fish, and we were perusing a steelhead Facebook page the other day, and we got some questions about how to tie up one of these beaded jig, fly, whatever you want to call it. Either way, we're going to bring this to life on the vise here at Spawn Fly Fish using some awesome Spawn products. We hope you guys enjoy this. Let's get after it. Alright, to start this off, we're going to take a Spawn 60-degree jig shank in 40mm, and what we're going to do off camera is we're going to cut that. When we cut it, it's going to have that end shank and that bend back off, and we'll back about a fingertips length. I know that doesn't really help very many of you guys, but about a half an inch, maybe a little bit over a half an inch. So if you're doing this on a jig, know you can do the same thing. So right here where that hook's going to curl back up, snip that hook off, and we will get ready to rock and roll. The next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a Spawn Super Tungsten bead. This is the heaviest bead on the market, and we are going to insert that into the vise. So as you can see here, platform for this pattern will now take place. So backstory in this pattern, follow a bunch of steelhead pages, and there was a pattern that was recently posted, whole bunch of questions pertaining on how to tie it. I never tied it, but frankly it looked like something that I could easily whip up. So this is take one. You guys will be seeing take two, and really appreciate the people reaching out asking, yes, can you tie that? I would love to learn how. So after investigating the pattern, doesn't look too challenging, and we're going to whip this thing right out. So what we're going to do here on this shank is we're not going to go the entire way. So we're going to leave a little bit of room here. We have to be able to get this in and out of the vise, so just be mindful of that if you haven't tied on a shank like this. So the next thing we have here is we have a stinger hook. This is an Ahrex HR 482 size 2, and we have some braid, 30-pound braid. So we looped it up, and you want the line to come up out of the eye in this orientation so that it's going to ride a specific way. The next thing we're going to do here, hopefully you guys can see this, is we have some trout beads. So we're going to take a 4mm trout bead, slide it on like so. We're going to take a 6mm trout bead, slide it on, and we're going to take another 6mm trout bead and slide it on. If I can get that braid to not fray. If you're doing this with Dacron, it might be a little challenging. Spider wire is great. Some of these nice braids, so this is Maxima braid, very nice braid, thin diameter, and you're able to get that through just fine. So if you look at this, it's kind of like a wedding ring lure for those of you familiar with it. We're bringing this to the fly world or jig world, whatever you want to call it. So you have that foundation set. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tie this in, and we're just going to pull this forward just a wee bit so that it's going to be just off of the shank. I'm going to take that out just to make sure, and hopefully you can see that, but it's going to line up perfectly. So I'm going to put that back in the shank, and I'm going to really solidify this down. Front. And then I'm going to bring it all the way back down. Cut a little bit. Tie off those two. That's not going anywhere, but for good measure, we're going to come in with just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Never had a hook pulled off. As you can see, it didn't really have any fancy way of doing it, but this is really going to solidify it. It's not going to go anywhere. So as you can see, the pattern is coming to life already. Very, very simple. Just throw a couple more wraps in there, trying to cover that up so we can kind of blaze through this pattern here. So the next thing we're going to do, of course, we had to add some Spawn Semi-Seal. So we got some Spawn Semi-Seal in UV orange. We're just going to dub our thread here. Watch out for that trailing stinger hook. It is sharp. You could use a chenille here if you wanted to, but the pattern that was on that Facebook page was a dubbing, and I don't have the gentleman's name that tied it or posted it per se. But what we're going to do is we're just working through some dubbing here. Dubbing needle up to just back behind the bead. We're going to come in and brush this out. Do want a little bit of dubbing here. We want this to fan out over the beads off the back. Really look like something juicy that steelhead wants to grab onto. And we'll stop just shy of the bead right there. So, the next thing we're going to do here is take some Spawn's Fluorescent Southern Peach Schlappen, and I'm going to go into an inch or so on that feather here because I want some of these longer feathers, and I'm going to tie that in. Come in, trim off that tag end, and situate these fibers if I can. Oh my goodness. Alright, we're wrapping towards you. And wrap those fibers, coming around, doing a horrible job at it, but you get the gist if you're watching this. There we go. That will do it right there. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, create that good V, and come down with some securing wraps. Trim out the tag end, and voila, that's about it. So we're going to do a couple of cosmetic things here and some security here. We're going to come in, add a couple whip finishes. We're then going to come back with the Zap-A-Gap, finish off the fly, and brush it out. I'm using a Veevus 140 in fluorescent orange. And now for the brush out. Got a fresh brush here. Just going to brush out some of those fibers. Get that thing, make it looking nice and pretty. That does it. Despite my horrible feather wrapping showcase there, looks pretty good. It's going to do exactly what we want to do. It's really going to drive those fish mad. All in all, very, very simple to tie. So I hope this answers the questions that I was getting on Facebook. I hope this gives you a little inspiration to do this at home and tie one on and go catch one out on the water. If you like this, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.